Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar here. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everyone is, looking forward to the holidays and the new year. But we just wanted to quickly go over a few things in terms of data cleansing, data integrity. You'll hear a couple terms from me every now and then. A lot of repetitive terms like data integrity, keeping it clean, accurate, effective. So just bear with me. um, Also, it's blowing like 50-mile-an-hour winds where I am. So if I lose my internet, or if this shuts off, that's probably why. Um, but yeah, we just wanted to go over this. We've had a lot of clients come to us with a lot of requests, and a lot of it reverts back to well, is your data clean? From there you can run more accurate reports, workflows, things like that. So I'm going to stop my camera and just pull up my PowerPoints here. Okay, stopping my camera. And okay, cool. So the benefits of clean data. Why is it important to you? Clean data is essential for success of any business that uses a CRM, not just Zoho. Zoho's not an exception. We clean data is important for books, for QuickBooks. It's not just a Zoho thing. So whatever I go over here, whatever I cover can also be relevant to any other system you may have. But it can help keep more accurate reporting, like I mentioned, help make better decisions. Clean data ensures reports are accurate and reliable, leading to better insights, better, more accurate data-driven decisions. So, for example, if your sales report shows inaccurate close rates due to duplicate entries, you might misinterpret your team's performance and not make the most accurate business decisions. So, in terms of forecasting, if you have inaccurate contact information, it can lead to misled opportunities and skewed sales forecast, hindering your ability to predict future revenue. So a lot of the downsides to having bad data, or I guess the benefits to having clean data, it's more of a domino effect of how it can affect any decision, any reporting, any automation down the road. So you'll see that as a theme as I go down this. But it'll make your team way more efficient and productive. So I think the name of the game now is reducing kind of mundane man hours. A, keep you more efficient. B, reduce human error. So you'll spend less time searching for correct information or fixing errors. You'll also be able to use filters correctly, knowing that there is standardization among field entries. So if you're having duplicate leads, that can lead to a waste of time contacting the same person multiple times, sending redundant marketing materials. Similar to what I just said, having the correct information in the correct fields in the right format will have your workflows and automations working seamlessly as well. If your workflow automatically sends emails to new leads, an incorrect email address will result in bounced messages and missed connections. Not only, with internally does it help, but in terms of the customer experience, that can also be enhanced with clean data. It enables personalized customer interactions, which will lead to stronger relationships. So having accurate customer segmentation based on clean data allows you to tailor marketing campaigns or offers to specific customer needs. Um, you know, it does wonders for marketing performance as well. So clean data allows for more targeted and effective marketing campaigns. Remember the filter capabilities I just mentioned. So you'll be able to filter out a little bit more cleaner, knowing that there's standardization and accurate information in the fields that you're trying to segment out of. So you'll be able to have better lead qualification based on accurate information. This will help your marketing team reach the right target audience. And it just improves conversion. So, the better your data is, the more clean it is. It helps your sales team focused on qualified leads, leading to higher conversions. So in this webinar, I'm going to speak for a couple more minutes, and I'm going to, go over a little bit more examples of what I'm talking about. Certain ways you can talk about, or certain ways you can implement clean practices with this. But we're going to put into place some systems to ensure that data is consistent and accurate, as well as find ways to go in and remove redundant data, remove workflow rules, or email templates or reports, things like that, so your CRM is looking clean. So this webinar will show you how you can clean up data after it is input into the system, but also show some more proactive ways and more preemptive strategies to prevent any mishaps from happening in the future. Um, so proper data, proper input will not only make records more accurate, but it'll help with BI, any analytics, analysis, forecasting, marketing campaigns. Another crucial aspect to having clean data is you will get better and more buy-in from your users. What I mean by that is it'll allow them to use the system properly and to its full potential. It seems like a lot of clients that come to us, they're like, hey, we love the CRM, we understand it because we were there when you built it out and we understand how it's being used. But the users they don't use it. They don't want to use it. They think, a spreadsheet or making phone calls is better. Showing them that you can have all these different types of automations and blueprints, whatever it is, can streamline their success. And that starts with having clean data. That starts with having consistency across the board so you can run those reports, you can run those workflows. So just how to keep your data clean. These are just some examples. I'm going to go through most of them. Some of them I'll just talk about. They're pretty self-explanatory. But the first one is standardize your data formats. So enforce consistent formats for names, addresses, phone numbers, other fields. So for example, and I'll walk you through this, but like state abbreviations for the state field. Um, Knowing that if you're trying to filter out states and some states are abbreviated, some states have long form, you're not going to get all the data that you want from there. Or using the correct field format, for example. So using a drop down or a multi-select to ensure consistency, to ensure that your users can only select the answers that you want them to, instead of an open-ended text format, a single line field to where you don't know if they're gonna spell everything out or capitalize certain things. So this will ensure that everything's consistent. To go with that, using validation rules to prevent incorrect data from being entered is crucial as well. You can make sure that email addresses are entered in the correct format. Certain fields can't be filled out until another field is filled out before it. Just to you have a lot more control over your CRM with validation rules. That's probably, in my mind, one of the ways to control data input. You can make fields mandatory, so require essential information to be entered into mandatory fields. Maybe fields like company name or lead source are mandatory for all leads. Regular data cleansing also. So deduplicating. Zoho has got a great deduplicating tool to identify and merge duplicate records based on certain criteria. Again, a lot of that comes from human error. Someone types in something wrong, there's typos, things like that. They might result in duplicate entries. So you can set up a weekly report to run dedupe reports. I call it dedupe for short. So if you hear me say that a couple times, that's what I mean. And you can merge any of those identified duplicates into one record. You could also periodically review and update your contact information or other relevant data. So you can run a quarterly report, monthly report, whatever it is, to identify contacts or leads or accounts, whatever it is, who haven't been engaged with recently, and just make sure that you verify that their information is still accurate. You can run a report, shoot you something saying, hey, these accounts haven't been touched in however long. Make sure their information's clean and accurate, and then boom, you're right away. And then another way you can do that is you can create a workflow to automatically archive leads that have been inactive for a certain period, or you can delete them too. I tend to not delete records off CRM unless absolutely necessary. So I just create either like a folder, a filter, or a view called archive or something, or inactive too if you want, just to segment out excuse me, those different types of contacts, accounts, whatever it is that haven't been touched. That way you can update them. Also building out a hierarchy structure, which means setting up different roles, permissions, implementing territory management. From here, you can designate different profiles and user types to your staff and make sure you have control over the data access and restrict certain areas of the CRM based on the roles. So this prevents unauthorized changes, it prevents mishaps, it prevents a lot of people who shouldn't be seeing certain parts of your CRM from making any of those changes. It will also enforce accountability among all the users, as they will be the only ones responsible for their data. If that's how you want to set it up. So as you build the hierarchy structure, you'll be able to designate who will be able to see whose data and records, who will be able to make edits, changes, updates, creation of records, edits, creations of workflows, templates. The list goes on, and how you can control the usage of that. And then the last thing is training. To be quite honest with you, training, like a monthly training, is very helpful. So one of the things that we recommend is you can have some sort of rotating internal user conduct regular training sessions on data entry standards or best practices. So having another salesperson, biweekly, maybe 2 weeks from now, you have a salesperson run a quick training session on how to create a simple report. That way it's coming from a peer and not some third party consultant like us. It's coming from someone who is using your system on a daily basis, who understands the nuances, um, and might be able to get a little bit more granular with their best practices. So that's another way to do it. Is training will increase your accountability and your accuracy on your data, but also it's a fun way to get people involved and get people to have that buy-in to the system. So by implementing, a handful of these strategies, you can ensure that your data remains clean, accurate, and reliable. And this can lead to improved business performance or better customer relationship management, CRM. So yeah, we just want to walk through a couple ways. We've done this. We started to do this data integrity service. You guys have probably seen our emails where we send out, this is why it's important. This is what we can do. So yeah, I just want to show you a couple ways that we or you can just clean your data. This is going to be a little bit of a high overview, a 30,000-foot look at it, because we are limited with time here. But I just want to show you a quick couple ways to make sure that your data is clean. I'm going to get out. I'm going to go into this little testing Zoho that you guys have probably seen before if you've attended our webinars. First things first is you probably want to get rid of your clutter. And what I mean by that is removing any field that you do not want to see. So I'm just going to go create a lead. I'm going to edit the page layout here. There's a lot of these fields, especially the ones that are systematic, that come out of the box, that you probably don't need. So you need to understand, or you need to ask yourself the question, what's important to you, if this will load, when capturing data, when gathering data, what's important to you for marketing? What information do you need to know about the account? For now, we're just going to work in leads. I can almost assure you that Skype ID is not one of those fields or data points that you need, so you can just quickly remove. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's drag and drop. But let's say for whatever reason, Skype makes a comeback and you want to bring that field back, you can always go to this unused section, and where is it? You can drag it and drop it back in. Any data that was living in there will remain in there. It won't be permanently deleted until you click this trash can button. That'll permanently get rid of the field. Same thing with facts. I mean, a lot of times one of the first things we do is we'll just go on the records, on the modules, and make sure people want to see what they want to see. They get rid of currency, Skype, facts, and then they all obviously add the ones that they want. So simply by removing those fields from the module, so what you and your users see is clean and relevant to what you actually want to do. So I'm going to go back here. The first thing I want to walk through is deduping or deduplicating records. It's probably the easiest thing to do when it comes to clean data, keeping your data clean. I found thousands of records of clients where there's duplicate entries for many reasons. I mean, mainly misspellings, typos, having abbreviations versus long form. Someone gets married and changes their name, and someone doesn't know that, and they're a newcomer and they only know the person's married name, not their maiden name, and then they input a new record and it's the same one. So right now I'm just going to use the deduping tool off the leads module. You saw me click over here and use the find and merge function here. You can select what you want to find records with. So right now I'm just going to do email. It's going to, yes, you want to proceed. I removed a lot of dedupes in here just so this wouldn't take minutes. It'll only take a couple seconds. But what this does, it's going to search based on the email. If it finds records with the same emails, it'll pop up here. So resolve now comes up in the bottom right, and it's going to show you which records have the same exact email. So this could be for a couple of reasons. Obviously this is testing info, but info at Hogwarts or whatever. This might be, one department. It might be a small department that shares an email address or some sort of company-wide email address. From here, you can select which data you want to keep. So, this might be a duplicate entry, but let's look at something that, might be a little bit more relevant to you. So this is my personal email. I'm just going to view the records that have the same email. From here, here's the first record, the second record, and this is the master record. From here, you can select which data gets pushed into the master record and which parts will be deleted. So obviously here, one of the reasons why there's two records is because someone spelled out Michael and someone spelled out Mike. From here, you can choose which part of the record you want to keep. And same thing with here, Chicago Bulls Inc. or Chicago Bulls. Maybe I want Michael because it's a little bit more formal, and I want to keep Chicago Bulls Inc. That's obviously a little bit more formal, probably more of the proper name that they go by or whatever it is. And you can go down and select what other fields you want to keep. But you can see how this can be quite confusing when people put in data into their leads module. So what you would do is you would merge it. I'm not going to do that right now because it takes a little bit of time, but you basically select what information you want from both the records or any of the records that they find to then push it to what we call the master record. So that's one way you can deduplicate leads. Another way is to go into the mod and go into a record itself. So I'm just going to go into accounts. We find this a lot. I mean, we found this internally with the Marks Group CRM as well. But we're going to go into an individual record. So obviously I've set this up, but Dunder Mifflin, this seems a little informal. There's no capitalization or, standard formatting here. But over here, you can click more options and go to find and merge duplicates. This is helpful for a situation where, again, names on accounts can be similar, but basically what you want to do is minimize the results by matching the criteria below. So you can have account name starts with, you can have account name contains. I'm going to get rid of this. It can match any of the criteria or all the criteria. I like to keep it a little bit more open-ended so it can match any of the criteria. But let's say I just type in Dunder. I know our group's been having a lot of duplicate entry. Okay, so there's 4 that popped up with Dunder. Dunder Mifflin Inc., and Dunder Mifflin Finity. I know these 3 are the same. You can also see some of the fields over here. The phone number is the same. The website, if you had one, would be the same. So I know these 3 are the same, but this one isn't. So I'm not going to merge that one. But it does bring up all the ones that contain Dunder. Another little caveat, if you see I'm trying to click that, you can only select a maximum of 3 records at a time. So if there are more than 3 with names that are in fact the same or similar, you will need to go through this process a couple of times. Again, what you would do, it's similar to how I just showed you this in the leads module. You would hit next, and then it would, pull up the fields, and you would be able to select which record to push all the data to, what part of the records that you want to push the data to the master record, to the one record. So you're consolidating all this information, all these duplicate accounts that you have, again, due most likely to human error of some sort, whether that's your internal users typing in the information wrong, or if someone goes on a contact form and they've done it more than once and they for one reason put Dunder Mifflin Inc.com or Inc. and the next time they put Dunder Mifflin, those are both human errors that this tool can kind of go in, see where there's similarities based on whatever criteria that you're using, and merge them into one. So you're not having 25 accounts with the same name, the same information. So I'm not going to run the merge right now, but that's just a quick way to go in and get rid of duplicate information. So the next thing I'm going to go over are validation rules. Actually, I'm going to show you a little example here. So validations, they add significant value by ensuring data integrity and consistency. Remember, I'm going to say that term a handful of times, but they enable businesses to get specific criteria that data must meet before it can be saved. So it prevents incomplete or incorrect information and standardizes your data formats, which will obviously enhance the accuracy of it. So this leads to more reliable reporting, workflow filtering, marketing analysis, you name it. Validation rules can keep your fields consistent. It will also make sure all the data entered aligns with your organizational standards and policies. So in lieu of time, I'm just going to show you a quick one that will prevent headaches for you in the future. So I'm back at leads here. let's say I want to, send emails or do a mass update to all my leads in the state of Pennsylvania. That's where I am currently. Let's just do state. I'm going to filter out state is, let's say PA. I'm going to apply that filter. Okay, none of them showed up. Oh, maybe they typed in the full name, Pennsylvania. All right, apply the filter. Okay, only one showed up. I know, just as someone who's been inputting data in here, I know there's more than one lead from Pennsylvania. There's a handful of them. But there could be misspelling. So I'm gonna, broaden this search a little bit, see if I can get one that just contains, or get more records that contain Penn. Let's see what this. Okay, so 2 more popped up. For whatever reason, I know this is it. But you can see, I don't think anyone would misspell Pennsylvania that way or add an extra N or whatever it is. But you get the point that I'm trying to make. There are misspellings, and that's why they didn't all come out when you filter. So to prevent that, I'm going to create a validation rule to only accept state abbreviations. So you go here, you go to your modules and fields. For now, we're just going to do leads because we want to filter out the leads module. And obviously, I'm going to, I'm going to go back here. Pardon me, validation rules. So from here, you select which field you want to run a validation rule on. For now, I chose the state field because I want to make sure that the addresses are correct. Basically, what you tell it is when the state field, that's the one you want to work with. If the number of characters is more than 2, so when this criteria is not met, so if the criteria when you're typing in is not 2, so greater than or less than, then this rule will be applied. So it'll stop you from being able to save that field. This error message will pop up. You need to use the state abbreviation, only 2 letters, and you can have the error message show up next to the field or at the top of the page. That's a little bit more personal preference, but you can also have it, you can work almost reverse engineer to, you can say when criteria is met. And how you would work that with this scenario is you would say when criteria is met and when the number of characters is greater than 2 and when the number of characters is less than 2, then this rule will be applied. Seems like a pretty roundabout way to get to where we're at with this rule. Obviously, I chose this one because it's a little bit more straightforward, but I just wanted to show you can do it both ways. It's pretty simple to show that. And if it's not met, then you can't save it. So let's just see how this looks like on the front end. Let's see here, Pam Beasley. Okay, I know Mike's got paper companies in Pennsylvania. Let's say I'm a user and I want to upload or input Pennsylvania into the state. It won't let me because of that validation rule. So you need to use the state abbreviation, only 2 letters. Okay, now I get it. I put PA in, I hit save, it allows me to save it. So again, by just simply creating that rule, it's a very simple one. You can have it to be, you can't fill out a certain field until this is filled out or this certain date is passed, whatever it is, but it ensures that your state field is consistent in terms of the format. So you can do better filtering capabilities, better marketing capabilities, things like that. The next thing I want to show is just a quick little workflow to archive or delete inactive records to keep your database clean. So I'm gonna just create a workflow. I already did it. I don't want to bore you guys too much with creating workflows or reports, whatever it is when I do this, but I chose the last activity field to be what this runs on, not modified time for anyone who gets confused with that. Just quickly, the difference between last activity time and modified time is that last activity time refers to the time when changes are made to the record, which can include adding a note, email sent, received, field edits, open or closed activities, things like that. Last modified time only refers to the changes in the field. So not notes, tasks, or the email. But essentially, I want to run this workflow based on any activity or any time a lead was touched in some way. So after a year of not being touched right here, and it's going to execute this rule for all leads, then the lead status field will update to archive. So after a year of not touching them, that lead status automatically gets move to archive. And what I've done is I've created a custom view. So this is what the workflow looks like. Let's just go back to my leads here. I've created a custom view. It's very simple. I don't know if most of you guys probably know how this looks, but I've created a custom view called archive leads. And what this does is it shows all the leads where their lead status field, and I can show you on, on the setup, where the lead status field is archived. That's as simple as, that's all I did. So it removes them from any of my active lead lists that I might have. This is important to when you're sending any sort of marketing or outreach campaigns to your leads. You can remove them from certain campaigns. You can put them on separate ones made for leads who you haven't made contact with or updates on. You can also use this as a way to verify that all this information is right because you haven't talked to them in a while. So it's just a great and simple way to run an automation. You don't have to think about it, but if a lead hasn't been touched in a year, boom, it gets put into this workflow, and then from there it gets put into this view because that lead status field is archived. So those are a few ways to just quickly verify information. The next thing I want to talk about, it's a very important one. It probably takes a little bit more forethought and thinking when we implement this type of stuff, is hierarchy. So I'm just going to go open up a record real quick. Every record has some sort of owner, a lead owner, a contact owner, account owner, deal owner, task owner. This field is the main determining factor behind record visibility. And you can control who can see what. So I'm going to just quickly go into roles and sharing here. This is just a simple, very, very simple, what a hierarchy looks like. Who reports to who? So manager reports to the CEO, PM reports to the CEO, salesperson reports to the manager. We're just going to create a new role, and I'll show you what this means, but let's just say lower level. Don't want to be too mean. And they report to the salesperson. And this button here, share data with peers. This is, if you click this, that means all the lower level people can see every other lower level person's stuff. So I'm just going to click save here and go back to the roles, go back to the hierarchy. So now this extra branch was added to the hierarchy. What this means is managers can see their own stuff. If I tick share, share the data among peers, they'd be able to see other manager stuff, and they can see the salesperson stuff and the lower level stuff. So they can see anyone underneath them. You can't see up the chain, again, unless you set it up that way. So it's just a quick way to make sure you control the visibility and user what they can see in your system. Other options beside roles is, let's go to data sharing settings. This has all your modules here, so let's just click all the default permissions. From here, you have the opportunity to almost override the entire hierarchy of your organization for certain models. So example, let's just take the accounts module. You can have everyone be able to read, write, and delete any account information. I like to be a little bit more private with it. It reduces confusion when all the users can see everything when they have visibility. But essentially, you've written in a rule to bypass the module, saying I don't care, everyone can access everything. Read only here, that just makes it so people can't edit or mess up other records, but you can still see it. It doesn't hide any data. It just makes sure that they can't make any changes to records that are not assigned to them. So those are what data sharing settings look like. You can also create data sharing rules. So this gets even more granular. You can bypass a lot of things here, but let's just go to leads real quick. Let's just say test for the webinar. I can make it so that the CEO's information can be seen by the salesperson. And I'm not going to click superiors allowed, and I can grant whatever permissions I want, similar to the last page we saw. But yeah, it gets even more granular. This means that the CEO's information can be shared to the salesperson or the lower level person, whoever you want to see it. Because I didn't click superiors allowed, That means that even the managers can't see the CEO information, but the salespeople can. So you got to be a little careful when doing this. But I mean, there are a few reasons why companies do this. But I just wanted to quickly show you how granular you can get, and how extensive that this process can be, and to really make sure that you are thinking about who can see what, who can make changes to what, things like that. You can also set up what's called territory management. If any of you guys have worked with us, we might have done this for you, but I'm not going to touch on this too much for now. But essentially, if you wanted to create a new territory, you can say if if a certain field is, like, you can set up these territory rules. If a certain field is filled out, or they're coming from this part of the country, then you assign this deal, this lead, this account to this type of territory. You'd give it a description, you'd assign a territory manager, and you can mark certain users to that territory, and only those users can see those deal types, etc. Um, so it's a great way to control data. Again, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about now is more preemptive ways to keep your data clean. User lookup fields, I know Gene might have mentioned that in the past too to a lot of you guys, but you have to be pretty good at Deluge to work this. You have the option to create a user lookup field within the module. You would need to create a function to be able to grab all the related users and the user lookup fields and then add them to another record. But those are other ways that I can do a whole nother webinar on that alone. But it requires a lot of forethought, but I just wanted to mention this because it can be very useful. Profiles is very important. It's a way to govern permission, for example. So you can, let's just click standard. It's the one that's underneath. The admin has the most access, and standard, for example, just doesn't. But you can hide entire modules from people. So if I don't even want people with the standard profile to be able to see leads, I only want them working on deals and active accounts, I don't want them to mess with any of my marketing stuff, I can remove that so they can't even have access to it. They can't even click in to the leads module up here. I'm gonna just undo that. But yeah, we've talked about hiding certain role records from others, but here you can restrict entire modules. This controls what they do in the entire system. So I'm just going to quickly go down here. These are permissions that they might have to modules. You can set it to where they can't import records. You can set it to where they can't export records, send emails, mail merges, mass updates. That's a big one, to where you want to keep your data clean. They can't convert leads. They can't do any mass conversions. There's a ton of permissions you can work with, so your users, A, don't get confused. B, don't screw things up. I almost said another word there. But it's just a way to control what they can and can't do, and make sure that there is validations along the way. There's a ton of permissions that you can control to make sure, let's get rid of this, that they're not messing up things that they should not have access to, and that they are not putting the wrong data in the wrong places. A couple other things I want to talk about before we kind of start wrapping this up are making sure you go through your workflow usage and your email template usage, and creating reports to show how you can see all the clients that haven't been touched for a month. You can have a monthly report being sent to you. But let's just go to quickly workflows. From here we go. You can you can even go in and just see what workflows are being used, which ones have had failures because of certain logic on the back end, how many tasks were created, etc. But let's just go to big deal rule. I actually think this one, excuse me, is out of the box that comes with Zoho. So you can go over here and click view usage. You can see, okay, is this workflow even being used? Okay, nothing's happened. Zeros across the board. Nil, 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 nothing here, nothing in this is being used. Again, it's out of the box. So I actually might even have it deactivated too. Nope, it's active. But you can see if the workflow rules are even being used. That way you don't have just a list of all these, what's going on. You can even see which ones have failed to work, even when they're trying to be run. So you can go in and update the logic there. This one I know I've ran a handful of times. Again, this is more of like a testing environment, not really a sandbox environment, but it's just a way for me to test certain things out before I offer it up to a client or push it live. But let's just say view usage here. Okay, 49 have entered, 6 of them said yes to a will, 6 tasks were created to send them maybe a document to fill out their will information. That was an automation that I created, but here you can see the usage of it. Okay, these ones are actually being used. Another way to see if that you have redundant data or redundant workflows in is you can select the modules that are in the workflow rules, or vice versa, the modules that the workflow rules are running on. You can click, let's just say I want to see all the ones that are associated with the leads. I can get a quick summary review of all of them, what they do, how many actions are, and I can just go through, okay, how many of these workflows are redundant? How many of these can be deleted? How many of these are needed? You can go back to the usage, how many of them are actually being used, how many of them are working, how many of them need fixing because the workflow didn't run, or the workflow rule didn't run because of something in the function on the back end. It's a highly useful tool to go through and see what the workflows are being used on. This is also just a little caveat. I like to fit as many workflows in one workflow rule, so you don't have excuse me again, all these lists. You can have one workflow that has many different rules and automations to it. That's just a little side note. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. You can also do the same thing with email templates. So let's go to customization, templates. From here, you can see the last time it was used. Again, a lot of the stuff is just, I mean, you might have seen some of these drip campaigns being quote unquote sent out in the blueprint webinar, but you can see when they were last used, you can see the stats, how many have been bounced, how many went through, how many got responses. So from here, you can really do a good job of cleaning up your email templates as well, being able to go in and see, okay, these ones are being used, these ones haven't been used since 2022. Why is this there? I can get rid of it. I can remove it so that next time someone goes in and maybe needs to do a mail merge or send out an email to a lead or client, this isn't just, it's not noise when they go to select the template. It's not even there because it hasn't even been used yet. And you can go in and check the stats of it. I mean, I don't know how many stats I'll have here. So yeah, you can see open rate, click rate, the version of it. It's pretty cool to see the stats of the emails that are being sent out. A, to remove them from your email template list. B, maybe you have to edit them because the open rate was good, but the response rate was bad, things like that. The last thing I want to go through is running reports. So again, just a quick report. It's something we can implement. It's something we can teach you in a matter of 30 minutes, probably. Of all the clients who have been untouched in the last month, let's just see here, all reports. Yeah, webinar test. I created this one already. So this is a really easy one. The last activity time again is before August 1st. So it's gonna spit me out a report of all the contacts that haven't been touched in that time period. You can break it down by salesperson. So for me, I'm the only one in this demo environment, but I have 89 untouched. Again, a lot of these, if not all of these, are testing ones. Like Jerry Seinfeld's not my client, and neither is George. It's my favorite TV show. So if you see a lot of that stuff up there, that's why. But if you have other salespeople, it'll break it out. So Mike has 89, Gene might have 10, and it'll show you which ones. A, to validate their data. B, just to make sure that they're making contact with their clients or leads or accounts, whatever it is. So it's just a quick way to produce a report. You can schedule this report. It's very simple. If I go to where is it? Scheduled reports. You can quickly just do a new report scheduler. You can choose the report. So let's say webinar test. Choose. I want to export this as an Excel, PDF, CSV. I'm just going to do an Excel. I can start it on a certain date. I can have it repeat weekly, monthly, whatever it is. I can send it via email. I can associate an email template to this. So when it gets sent out, it could say, "Hi, Gene, here are the untouched records." I can choose the recipients. So again, I'm the only one in this, but you can choose other recipients in your CRM organization, as well as add recipients that aren't in your CRM. So here you can just type, if you have someone in your organization that doesn't have access to your CRM, you can just simply type in their email address, separate it by a comma, and it'll send them the report as well. This report can be scheduled to where you don't have to go through and create a report or produce the report every time. It'll automatically run and send out every month or something. I'm not going to save that. One last thing I want to talk about with reports is out of the box, Zoho gives you a lot of reports, most of which you probably don't need. Some of them are pretty good out of the box. Some of them might be relevant to you, but I just recommend going through and deleting all these. So I'm just going to delete. It'll move them. There. It'll move them over to this recently deleted, and then you can permanently delete them from there. But this is a lot. So when you're going through and you're trying to produce a report, or you're trying to run a report for your manager, whatever it is, and there's all these different types of reports, I would just recommend going through and just getting rid of a lot of them and only keeping the ones that are pertinent to you. Maybe you can star them and put them in a folder, your favorites, whatever it is. You can also edit the folder section over here. So let's say you only need deal and lead reports. I don't know why that would be the case, but you want to get rid of all of them. You would just uncheck these. You would click save, and the only thing that shows up are the systematic ones, so your favorites, recently viewed, scheduled reports. But then the only two that you wanted were deal and leads. It's just a way to make sure that it's clean to the eye. There's not a lot bugging the page. It's a little bit more white space than just having 1,000 reports that Zoho just gives you out of the box. So yeah, that's just a quick way to make sure that there's less clutter. So I mean that was pretty much it for the run through. I am going to just go back here to this slide and just talk a little bit more. So yeah, just by having clean data and data integrity, you create a single source of truth. And if you've worked with us, you've probably heard me, Rodrigo, Gene, Constantino, Corey use that phrase a lot. And as seen in just a few examples, having accurate and relevant data can directly impact the effectiveness of your sales, your marketing, your customer effort or service efforts. And then when I talk about single source of truth, I mean, it's always important to have a database. In a lot of cases, it's the company's CRM or QuickBooks, but a lot of the case it's CRM, where you can always rely on that data to be true. So it's a nice way to go back, and if something's messed up in a third party that you're integrating with, the data is just incorrect there, you can always go back to the CRM where okay, this information is going to be true, real, and accurate, to where it's like, okay, something messed up and somewhere through Zapier to where it's not pulling in the right information. Okay, go back to the CRM, check whatever record, check whatever data point that you are missing or that is incorrect. The CRM will have it, and that starts with implementing some of these practices the best practices in terms of keeping your data clean, and then B, a monthly data cleansing that you might do, where it's deduping records or producing reports where records haven't been touched, or going through your workflows and making sure that those are up to date and working. But it will lead to better decision making instead of missed opportunities, and quite frankly, frustrated customers and wasted resources. So thanks for popping by and listening. I know Gene will have this sent to. Let me turn on my camera here. Gene will have this sent to you guys, I'm sure, very shortly after it gets uploaded, to each of you individually, as well as I believe he's actually going to be posting it to our YouTube, the Marks Group YouTube page. So be on the lookout for that. I believe we're going to have another webinar coming in late January or February. We haven't necessarily decided yet. I mean, there's holidays coming and all that, and that might put a wrench into things. But either late January or February, another one of these, just a quick 45-minute run through of something that we think is important to your CRM. But yeah, feel free to reach out to either one of us with any help with your Zoho or other CRM concerns you may have. We're always available. I hope you enjoy this. Again, this will be recorded and sent out to you right after this is right after this completes. So keep a lookout for that. Gene will email you. I'm sure he'll follow up with all you guys, as you guys have probably gotten his follow-up emails. But thanks for attending. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving and an upcoming Christmas. And please reach out if you need any help. Thank you.